We're theme park families.
Theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Won't you join us now?
We're theme park families.
Thanks for joining us, we aim to please.
If roller coasters got you weak in the knees,
We're theme park families.
if you wanna find the best dessert or
Take a potty break with privacy,
find a coaster that is tame for little ones,
or one to make you scream.
we're theme park families.
Everybody's ready, babies.
Rescuing you all from life's luxuries.
We're theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Press the space bar to get it.
Yay!
Welcome everybody to episode 4. I'm Adam,
And I'm Andrew.
and we're excited to have you today. Happy summer to everyone, and summer solstice has just passed us up, and that means what's exciting about this week?
We have no school.
Yes, the ending of school, and we're a lot later than the rest of the country in terms of our school year ending. So now hopefully that means a lot of people are getting to theme parks, and will be some of them as well, and hopefully we'll hear about some of your trips as the year goes along. So very exciting there. One more thanks to Holiday World and how generous they were to us, including Matt for giving Andrew a lot of those tips for the Water Cup Challenge. Was he one of the best coaches you've ever had?
Oh, one of the best coaches, the best coach.
Yes, thank you everyone there. So today, we're going to discuss our time with coaster royalty at Carowinds and King's Dominion. We'll have an important first for Andrew at Dorney Park, and we'll have a message from a British rocker, and have our rides and tips of the day. But first, we start as always with Andrew's news.
If not riding coasters will give you the blues, it's Andrew's news.
Beautiful singing, Andrew. That was lovely.
Right, thanks. I did it for you guys.
I think eventually here, especially as we have more time, we'll have little jingles for all of our different segments as we'll have a little bit more time to record.
First up, we have new videos and pictures came out from Cedar Point and the coaster formerly known as Mean Streak Weekly.
We only have one experience really with Mean Streak. The first 2 times we went to Cedar Point last year, it was closed because it was early in the year. So we did it just one time, the old Mean Streak. And what did you think of it?
I actually liked it. I didn't see why it was so bad. I rode it 2 times, one as a single rider and one with my dad. I mean, the second time I rode it, I definitely got a little more banged around because I rode in the middle, but I liked it. I didn't see any problem with it. But now I'm super excited that it's getting the RMC treatment. From what we saw, it looks amazing.
It really does look incredible. We'll talk about that more next week when we talk about our experiences at Cedar Point. But it really does look amazing, and more stuff is coming out about it. Well, thanks to In the Loop, what trick did we know about last year when we did Mean Streak? Remember the secret password?
Oh, the jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
I didn't know we learned that from them.
Yeah, I had gotten it from Drew the intern. He knew about jellyfish, and it was exciting. As you remember when we were in line, and I talked to the girl as we were entering and said jellyfish, and they gave the operator the sign, and jellyfish meant what? Do you remember what that was?
It meant a lot of coasters like the Beast and a lot of other old wooden coasters have trim brakes.
Uh-huh.
Nobody likes those.
No, nobody likes those.
And so the jellyfish was a little sign that they were doing. And if someone did that, then they would take off the trim brakes at the top of the lift hill.
Do you remember what the physical motion was that you were supposed to do with jellyfish?
Oh, you're supposed to wiggle your hands, right?
Yes, wiggle your hands like you were squeezing grapefruit.
Oh.
That was the hidden sign about jellyfish, exactly. I'm not sure what all that meant, but so that was it. And yeah, I didn't think it was that bad either. We heard such nightmares about how awful it was. I thought it was okay, nothing exciting, but the new ride really does look incredible. There's some weird rumors going around. Like I saw on some forums that some people thought it was going to be a racing coaster. Now, from what we saw, there is one part near the train station where there are parallel tracks, and it sort of looks like that could be, but do you think it's going to be a racing coaster?
No, because it doesn't have room to be 2 stations.
Definitely not going to be a racing coaster. There's no chance of that. One lift hill, and that's about it, but it looks like it should be a great ride, and perhaps one of the best, if not the best coaster at Cedar Point.
Oh, well, it must be really good to be the best. They have a lot of coasters that would be hard to top there.
And we can't wait to find out next week which were your favorite coasters at 52 inches at Cedar Point.
The next thing. Six Flags Run closing Platoon Lagfilm. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's pretty hard.
Your French was awesome there. That sounds good to me.
La Platoon.
La Platoon, no, ha ha ha.
Yeah. So after closing the Cobra, their Intamin stand-up coaster, maybe they'll close every ride and just have a lovely island with a great view of Montreal.
It's a brilliant strategy. Just close every single ride. You could charge people to come into the park and have no rides whatsoever. What do you think? Is that a good strategy?
Mark Shapiro strategy.
It'll just be only bench the rides at, what, $1?
15.
Oh, $15. Oh, you're going to jack up the prices. So
Yep.
Kind of weird to have 2 major rides closing at the same time in the same year. Now, looking at the map, they're sort of in the same area. It's kind of hard to say whether a major ride could go in both areas. You'd have a little bit going over some of the midway, but perhaps it could lead to some great ride next year.
Yeah, but at that park, like, everything's so squished together that they would only really have that much room for a big coaster. I mean, like, it's so squished together, they would have at least room for a semi-big wooden coaster.
Possibly. That's a good idea. They do have Le Monstre.
Like, they could do something like Wolverine Wildcat at Michigan's Adventure.
Because you love that ride?
I was asleep.
That's true. We'll talk about that more later. All right, so interesting strategy there, closing 2 major rides at Laurent.
Lance from Screamscape reports that a new coaster might be in the works for Darien Lake, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
The rumored coaster might be Fama-Jerd.
Whoa! Fama.
The rumored coaster might be from German company like Mach or Glockenspiel.
Glockenstein? Well, a Glockenspiel, as Adam Beardman knows, is a percussion instrument, but Glockenspiel isn't going to be this coaster.
Gerstlauer?
That's a lot better than Glockenstein, yes. Gerstlauer. All right. And what about it? What about the Glockenstein?
And featured 3 inversions.
Wow, so exciting. Now, what do you know about Darien Lake right now? You've never been, but what do you know about it?
Right now, I know that it has okay coasters.
Yeah, what are some of the coasters? Do you know what some of the coasters are at Darien Lake?
I know there's the Moose one, the Moose on the Loose.
Moose on the Loose, which is what a lot of people are most excited about. Not a coaster, but a flat ride.
Yeah, it's usually down, a lot of people say.
Yeah, Alex and Melissa last year when they went, it was closed. So hopefully it's open for us this year.
They also have the Superman Ride of Steve.
Very good. Superman, which they can't call Superman now that it's not Six Flags. So that's their best coaster. You know what else they have?
I know that they have a top spin, I think.
Let's see. They have a boomerang.
A boomerang.
A mind eraser.
They have also have the rough wooden coaster.
Yeah, Predator.
Yep.
Which Dan, the t-shirt guy, loves.
Absolutely.
They've got an Arrow Looper, which is supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Mind eraser. And the Moto coaster, which I'm kind of looking forward to. We've never done one like that.
Yeah, when Alex and Melissa came back, they said it was not really that anything special. It wasn't that. They said it wasn't that fast. But they said they liked it.
So yeah, looking forward to that. That'll be our first kind of coaster when you're in a position like that. So for them, I think their last coaster, that's almost a decade ago. So boy, they could really use a new ride. So just to hear this rumor is kind of exciting. The possibility of a new ride there, and they need to breathe some new life into that park, as they really haven't had anything new that's been a major new ride to bring people in. So kind of exciting, and stay tuned for that, as we'll hear in the next couple months if they'll get something new and exciting. And that ends this week's Andrew's News. On to Carowinds and the Coaster Radio meetup, which by now feels like a long time ago, right, bud?
Yep.
It's amazing how long ago that is by now. And it was such a wonderful time. Each Coaster Radio meetup gets better and better and better. I certainly recommend you coming. And it was a great live show with lots of variety, different skits, comedy, many different sections to it. So I would definitely check that out. Coaster Radio episode 1132 about the live show. Really, really funny and well done. So I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, check it out, guys.
Our weekend started out on Saturday when we got there in the morning for AM ERT on Fury, which is so worth it to do. As a pass holder, you get a half hour of ERT early, and as long as you have a pass, you can head back to Fury, and you could definitely get anywhere between 4 and 6 rides in. This doesn't make Andrew very happy, though, as he's not quite ready to do it. Next year, when he's 54 inches.
You keep saying it's so good.
Well, it kind of is, but we'll talk about that more later. Okay, it's decent. It's okay.
It's bad.
After ERT, we all split up, all of our buddies from Coaster Radio, as they went to do Intimidator and a bunch of the other 54-inch rides. Now, for you, Andrew...
This isn't a good park.
For you, it's not a good park, and why is that?
Because they don't have that many great 48 or 52 collection of coasters or rides there. Like, one of my favorites would be the Plants vs. Zombies,
right?
And that's not even a coaster.
That's the problem. There are some parks that are great for him and some that aren't. Now, Carowinds, for those of you who have kids around 6, 7, 8 years old, Carowinds has a lot of 54-inch coasters. When you take a look at the 3 great B&Ms, Fury, Intimidator, and Afterburn, all 3 54-inch coasters. We've got the Vekoma Flying Coaster, Nighthawk, which is 54 inches as well. You've got the stand-up coaster Vortex, another B&M that is 54 inches. And so it's a lot of coasters that sadly he cannot do.
But there is Flying Cobras and Carolina Cyclone. I mean, those are 2 okay coasters. Very rough, but still good. I mean, Flying Cobras has gotten better, but still a little rough.
So that leads into, what we did that morning. So after we all split up, it worked out well because we immediately headed over to Ricochet, their wild mouse. And we ran into EB, Mark, EB's son, and Mike, who were in line to do Ricochet. And this is good advice for those of you who have kids, because it's a weird rule that some parks have with wild mouse coasters. Now, it's weird because some of them follow this rule and some don't. So here's the deal. You have to be 44 inches to ride the wild mouse, and you need to be 54 inches to ride by yourself. Now, if you're a single parent with 2 kids, this becomes problematic because of this strange rule. For those of you who know wild mouse coasters, there are 2 rows of 2 seats. So if you're a single parent and have 2 kids under 54 inches, a lot of parks won't let you ride a single parent with 2 kids. They want you to have an adult or someone over 54 inches sitting with both kids. It's a bizarre rule. Now, I remember definitely at Hershey is one of the parks where they made the kids stay on the side, and they made the kids sit on the side and wait with a ride operator while I rode with one, then swap them out and ride with the other. So the strange part about this rule is that Alex, at 6 years old, who's 48 inches, can ride Millennium Force by himself. Yet, if I was with the both of them, he couldn't ride a wild mouse in a row by himself with me in the back. Very, very strange.
Well, I think they should do something where if there's a parent and 2 kids, then the parent and the younger kid should sit in the back, then one kid could sit in the front and be a single rider so that the parent could still watch the kid in front. I mean, I don't know why they can't do that. That's a little lazy, but...
Well, with the lap bar and seatbelts, I'm not sure what the concern is there, so it's very odd. But we ran into them, and Alex rode with them, and Andrew rode with me, so it was a good way to start out the day after Fury ERT. From there, we did Carolina Cyclone, the Arrow Looper, which Mike found a little bit rough. We did the Gold Rusher, and Gold Rusher, I think it's our second favorite mine train for a major park after Great Adventures.
I think it's okay, yeah. I like the little helixes. They're fun going underground with those little stacks of wood.
Yeah, it's a nice little touch, those wooden tunnels that you go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of like it. I think it's pretty good. And then Flying Cobras, as you mentioned, how do you think it looked, the retheming for that area?
Yeah, it looked great. They really did well on it. The track looked good. The cars looked great.
I give them credit. Yeah, they really made those cars look nice. They all were kind of themed to airplanes and the decals that they had. Each car was a different color. I thought that was a nice touch, so it really looked good. Again, not the smoothest, but those vest restraints that they had there.
Yeah, those are nice and clean and soft, and yeah, I like it. I mean, it's definitely not the best boomerang I've ever done. Certainly not the most intense, but I liked it.
Now, that Saturday was pretty busy there overall. Not as busy as it was when we went to Canada's Wonderland, but lines got pretty long, and at times it was pretty busy where you would have wanted to have a fast pass if you were doing a lot of the major rides. Did Plants vs. Zombies a bunch of times because we wanted to have some practice for the competition the next day for the Coaster Radio meetup. And then for the last couple of hours of the afternoon, it got really hot there. And so we decided to go to the water park. And for the last 2 hours, they cooled off in the wave pool and some of the other small slides just to be able to get out of the heat a little bit as they were kind of fried at that point. We were able to do a few more rides that night, and it was a really long, hot day, so we decided to head back to the hotel. And then Sunday, day 2, started off with the Fury Tour.
So amazing.
Yeah, the Fury Tour was great, and it was really nice to be able to get picked for that. And what were some of the highlights of that tour for you?
Well, I would have liked it a lot better if I could do Fury.
Yes, I know.
The couple highlights are finding some of the stuff on the ground that people dropped.
That was a surprise to me. So we went onto the lift hill and a couple of the helices before the end of the ride there.
Helices.
And it was, that's the plural for helix.
Oh.
But it was shocking to see how many things were under that area. Most of them were hair ties and stuff like that, but there were other weird objects that were under there.
Yeah, like I found one half of a phone, and Mark found a broken screen, and we found like hats and glasses and, like you said, hair ties, and Mark found a pair of 3D glasses from the Plants vs. Zombies thing. I think that's kind of weird why someone would bring that with them.
And so, based on that, you can see how important loose article policies are. That's a coaster that doesn't go upside down or close to it, and still there's that much stuff that fell out of pockets.
Kind of goes near 90 degrees.
Bank turns, yeah, exactly. It was neat to get a great view of that drop from our perspective and to see what the maintenance shed looked like. It was a really cool experience, and I was glad we were able to do it. Got some Fury ERT in again, and it was nice to be able to give some of the people from the meetup our passes so that they could do some of that early Fury ERT as well. It was nice to be able to help other people out with that. After that, we went and did the water gun competition, which was fun, and that's always kind of a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill with that. And we did some more Plants vs. Zombies, and we found out what the trick was. So the winners were able to do it. And I don't even think you know this. The trick was to get into an almost empty theater, and you had all the targets to yourself. So that was what the winners were able to do. They went early in the morning, got there when there was almost no one there, and were able to get crazily high scores. And that makes sense. When you have no competition, you can get them all yourselves. And so that was fun to be able to do it. And you learn the patterns of where all the gnomes are to shoot them for extra points.
Yeah,
Did you
like-
notice that?
Yeah. Now I'm looking at the little arrows that are pointing to like certain stuff. And for those of you who've done the Plants vs. Zombies, there's the annoying pre-show with the Dr. Zomboss that has a pretty annoying voice that says, "Oh, there are the gnomes. You have to shoot
I'm
the gnomes."
Dr. Zomboss! Ah!
Yeah, like that.
That got annoying after a while?
Oh, yeah, especially when you have to listen to it a lot.
Kind of like at Six Flags with the Dark Knight, hearing that,
Yeah.
that
But
press
that's not
conference
as
over and over.
annoying,
Okay, but
because that dude doesn't have an annoying voice like Dr. Zomboss.
that is very true. Later on in the afternoon, then we went to Harmony Hall, where we had lunch, and then got ready for the show that they had on the stage outside Harmony Hall. Such a great place. Wish every theme park had a Harmony Hall. A giant place like that where you can get out of the heat, air conditioning, and have multiple food options. Really
And a
kind
lot
of nice.
of TVs.
And a lot of TVs where they show coaster POVs.
And there's a lot there's a lot of the same band who plays there.
Oh yeah, and some of the music I thought was pretty well done. The show again was great and really a lot of fun to listen to. And after the show, a lot of the kids hung out together and people were hanging out there. And I helped Mike and EB walk to the car to bring a lot of the prizes and different things back to their car. Chris, who was wonderful from Carowinds and went so far out of his way to help us throughout the whole day with Fury ERT and the show. We all went out together and we walked back to Fury where he brought us up the exit. We went into the front row and got one last ride in on Fury. And yeah, Andrew wasn't too happy that we took a little extra time with that.
Yeah, you guys did just ditch Mark, Alex, and I for like an hour.
Oh, it was like 15 minutes, but...
No, it was like 45 minutes.
So 8-year-olds have no sense of time. But they were with lots of other people, and they were all socializing,
I
so that's
learned
good.
time in second grade.
Yes, and you're doing wonderful with that. Kind of a weird feeling, again, taking spots like that. I don't really ever do Fast Pass, and so it's a guilty kind of feeling. But it was a great ride, and thanks again to Chris for that.
Well, you do it for Parent Swap a lot. I feel guilty too when...
Yeah, even Parent Swap, when it's true. With Parent Swap, you feel that way a little bit as well?
Yeah, when they kind of give you the look.
When you take their row, but it's like, no, I'm not Fast Pass, we're just parent swapping. Still have that feeling of guilt, even though we're not paying for that at all. Well, we had one last night ride on Fury, which is just a great ride. Yes!
No.
And you'll experience it next year.
2 years.
Really like Carowinds overall. Has a lot of charm to it. Some of those dining places where there's a little waterfall and a pond. A lot of neat areas. A lot of great coasters. And I think next year, Andrew will enjoy it a lot more when he's able to do a lot more coasters.
And a lot of great food.
And again, thanks to Mike and EB for setting that all up. They are just class acts. And anyone who's never been to a meetup, well, you have a chance October 13th at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and October 14th at King's Dominion. So if you can make it out, it's a great time and you'll meet a lot of great people. King's Dominion on the Saturday.
They're gonna have a meetup there.
Yeah, that's their home park. So it makes sense that they would have it there.
Not Busch Garden was Mike's home park, and Holiday Road was ZB's home park.
Yeah, but King's Dominion's kind of where they grew up and spent the most time there. So yeah, I think it's going to be special for them to be able to have the meetups at those two parks. Very special. We went back to the hotel that night, needed some sleep for our long drive in the morning, and then we made the approximately 5 hours drive to King's Dominion heading up north on Memorial Day Monday. We didn't have school Tuesday, so we knew we could spend a little bit of time there. That's a rough drive from Carowinds to King's Dominion. That highway, there's nothing to look at for all those miles. And then once you get to 95, that area around Richmond has so much traffic, it seems like at any time of the day.
It never stops.
So we got to King's Dominion, and it was a pretty hot day on that Monday. Not too busy, and the boys decided they wanted to cool off. So we headed to the water park to start off with. And we had been to King's Dominion about 4 times last year. And with all those times, we had never been to the water park. So we decided it's hot, and let's head to the water park first. And what did you think of the parts of the water park that we went to?
So, if you've been to the water park, I think it's a little like Hyena Falls, where it's sort of near the Drop Tower and Rebel Yell. And some parts even go near, like, Intimidator 305, where I have to walk under Rebel Yell, and I think it's a little weird.
Yeah, kind of strange that some of the slides are in the park and the others are separate on the other side. And yeah, I think that's a really nice comparison. And we decided they were going to go in the kiddie area with the slides, as it's a fast, easy way to cool off and not have to wait in a long line. And what immediately happened when we got there?
I didn't know what was happening at first. The lifeguards started pushing people, well, not pushing, but telling people to go off the structure, and people are going down off the structure, and I think someone had an accident in the water.
It seems like that's happened to us so many times at those kind of little kiddie areas where, for some unknown reason, it closes. Happened at Hurricane Harbor, at Great Adventure. So some sort of accident. All right. So we went into the Big Wave Bay.
Super nice.
Yeah, and I loved the setting there in that wave pool, surrounded by beautiful pine trees, really kind of a nice natural setting, and I thought it made it kind of interesting. So we were in there for about 45 minutes, a great way to cool off, even though it was a little busy.
And like I was saying to you, the background, like sometimes the wave pools will have like a super neat background, like rocks or like a whole beach setting. This one wasn't really that fancy, and I was talking to you about it. Yeah,
not fancy, but still a nice setting, and it was just nice to cool off a little bit. Then you decided to go on Pipeline Peak, which is a black and closed speed slide that really goes completely straight down.
One of the capsule slides, but it isn't a capsule slide.
Right, it has that same thing.
Just a body slide.
Yeah, just a body slide. And it's pretty high up. It's almost 100 feet tall. And when you were up there, you looked like you were a mile away. And what did you think of the ride?
Oh, I thought it was great. It was over in a second, but like, you got a lot of airtime since you're going 60 degrees, I think, around there.
Ooh, okay, maybe.
Maybe a little.
It was pretty fast.
Yeah.
All right, and so pretty brave of him, and by far he was the shortest one up there, and all these are kind of new experiences for him, as all these slides are 48 inches without shoes, so this is the first year that he can really do a lot of those kind of extreme slides. I didn't get to do it. I was hanging out with Alex, but I definitely would have been nervous up there, but Andrew's way braver than I am with some of that stuff. So very cool that he was able to do that. At that point, we knew we had contacted our good friend Clint Novak. We knew he was about to show up, so we changed, and he arrived, and it was good to see him. He was working that day, and we hadn't seen him since last year, where we met him a few times at Kings Dominion, and it was great for him to show up and catch up with him. The nice part about this trip compared to last year is he's finally been cleared to be able to do rides, and so this was a new experience for us, being able to go on some coasters with him there. Really cool how Clint is sort of treated when he's at Kings Dominion. What always happens when we're there?
Oh, there are usually ride ops or people that are working there, or even just regular people that go there that are like, oh, hi, Clint, can I have a picture with you? There are two, I would say, in their 23-year-old men that asked to take a picture with him. And I just thought that's cool how he's built up his own little community.
Well, yeah, he's been in the game a long time. 2005 was when In the Loop started, along with Coaster Radio. So, man, that's well-deserved. And he's always so gracious with all the people who come up to him and ask for pictures. So after that, he decided to text Randall and Reese from In the Loop on Air and see if they were interested in coming. And at first they were both like, just got out of work, kind of tired. But then he took a picture of Andrew and I and sent it to them. And then they were both like, oh, sure, we'll show up. We had met them. Do you remember when we met Randall and Reese last year?
At the Joker Media Day.
That's right. And we hung out with them a lot that day and got to do a lot of rides. So big thanks to them coming out when they weren't exactly excited about it. That's their home park. They go all the time. So it was good to see both of them. We did a number of rides, including Rebel Yell and Ricochet and Backlot Stunt Coaster. And then we went to, for me, what's the scariest ride at Kings Dominion? Do you remember which quote-unquote ride makes me really uncomfortable there?
I would think the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I can go on Intimidator 305 and not be nervous.
Well, duh, because you're up there for, at the tallest spot for, at least 2 seconds.
But even Windseeker or Drop Zone, none of those bother me, but there's something about standing on top of that platform on the Eiffel Tower at 300 feet that I really, really don't like. So we went up there for a little bit, and do you remember what sight you wanted me to see when we were standing up there on the platform?
Clint said that there was the world's biggest fidget spinner there, and I thought it would have been huge, humongous, big, gigantic, and it was pretty big. And
I think it was about 3 feet, 4 feet by 4 feet, something like that. So pretty huge, and it actually did spin. And you were calling over to me to come to the railing to check it out.
You were like, I'm fine over here. Yeah, I see it. There it is. There it is.
I do not like getting close to the edge on that. But it's a beautiful view up there. We did a few more rides after that, got some dinner over by Hurler and checked it out. At that point, there wasn't a lot of work done on Hurler, really not too much railing that went in.
Yeah, if you did it, you would fall off in the first couple seconds.
Yeah, it would not be a fun ride, even probably still right now. Can't wait to see what Hurler eventually becomes. We know from Wicked Cyclone, it does not need to be that tall of a structure to still be a great ride. All right, so after that, all three guys were ready to head out for the night, and it was getting pretty close to closing time. We had maybe about a half hour left. So we decided to head over to Grizzly since we didn't get a Grizzly ride in, and Grizzly is not one of my favorite rides. I know it's a classic for a lot of King's Dominion regulars who have gone there for years. It's kind of rough and doesn't do a ton, but this turned out to be a magical Grizzly ride, and I'm so excited that we got to do it. At that point, it was pretty much pitch black, and as we were in the station, it was the last, say, about 5 minutes of the park being open. First of all, do you remember the strange animal that everyone was excited about that they saw?
There is a skunk.
It was a skunk and people right there in the woods as you walk into Grizzly. And that's one of my favorite parts of the ride, just that walk on the wooden plank heading towards the station. And everyone was freaking out about, oh, skunk, and yeah, who would want to get sprayed? As we were in the station getting ready to board our train, though, what was just starting?
The fireworks.
What a beautiful last ride. Yes, the fireworks show. It was just so cool as you're racing through that dark part of the park on that coaster and this beautiful, about 5 to 10 minutes of fireworks, something like that. And it was just a great way to end the night. Great trip at King's Dominion, had a great time, and it really wasn't that busy at that point for Memorial Day Monday. Drove up north as far as we could, heading back to New York, and stopped, ironically, in the Hershey Park area. That's where we got a hotel, even though we weren't going to do Hershey that day. And that next morning, heading back, we decided, all right, well, we're driving back north, we could stop at Dorney and get our lunch. And we actually went up doing a couple of rides. What did we start with Alex? Do you remember?
We started with
Steel Force.
Steel Force. That coaster.
Yeah, Steel Force, which was a nice little ride. And then we decided to do something monumental, something that was going to change Andrew's experiences forever. And what was that?
Possessed.
Possessed. And why was Possessed a monumental coaster for you?
It was my first 52-inch coaster.
All right, so exciting. So your little review of Possessed.
It was definitely wow. It was a great coaster.
What did you like about it?
The launch.
Launch is pretty good. And we did it once in the back and once in the front, right?
Yeah.
Which did you like better?
The back, I want to say. But I think the front was also great because I kind of like the little barrel roll and go backwards on that. I thought that felt cool. But they weren't quite doing the holding brake then. So I didn't get the full-on experience.
Yeah, we'll see if you get the holding brake at some point later on in the year when we return. And that wrapped up our day at Dorney after we had lunch and had to head back for school the next day. And now a quick word from an aging British rock star. Sting for VH1's Save the Music.
In 2005, I warned the Coaster Radio listeners about music becoming extinct. Here I am, Sting, to report back 12 years later that we have succeeded. We saved the music. The music is not gone. It is still alive, and I bet there are some skeptics out there. You don't believe me? Turn on your radio. What do you hear? Music thank you. Hear that kid singing down the street? Music. Heart of the Internet contains loads of music.
Sting's not lying. There really is still music.
Sting, VH1 Save the Music, Mike and EP, and Sting all save the music. Thank you, Coaster Radio listeners.
Sting would like to apologize for not making any good music since the Police recorded their last album in 1983. So that goes way back to season 1. If you haven't checked out the archives of Coaster Radio, check that out as you'll hear the original in season 1 of Coaster Radio. On to our ride of the day. Our ride of the day for this week is not a coaster, but one of our favorite flat rides, a scrambler. Now, scramblers are weird. I don't like a lot of spinning rides, like teacups will ruin me for a while. I haven't done a teacup since I was a kid. But scramblers don't really bother me that much. I kind of like them. Deja Vu is one that we've done a bunch at Great Adventure, and kind of like it. And it's weird with scramblers. That can be very, very different from each other. In terms of speeds and intensity, the faster the better with those. And this scrambler is one of the unique ones, and it comes from the Great Escape, and it's called the Blizzard Indoors. Andrew, what are some of the things that make the Blizzard Indoors kind of different?
It actually is very cold in there. And they have different songs and lights and stuff. It's pretty cool.
What a unique environment. One of the first things I love best about it is they had 2 ride operators every time we've done it. And that is a really slow loader checking all the belts and the pins for the doors to make sure that they're closed. Having 2 ride operators makes it go so much quicker. On a hot day, so nice to get into the air conditioning. They make it very dark with strobe lights and music. And yeah, it really is kind of a neat ride. If you ever get to the Great Escape, make sure you don't just go for the coaster credits, that you go for the flat rides, and that you go for Blizzard Indoors, a very cool flat ride. A nice little tip, if you ever do a scrambler and you have 2 groups, sit opposite of each other in the different wings. You can always pass each other as you're flying around, and you can say funny things to each other. That's one thing that Andrew, Alex, and I love to do. And a really cool ride that you can sit 3 together. Not too many flat rides that you can really do that all the time. But one of our favorite flats, and our ride of the day. All right, Alexander, you're up.
Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Yeah!
Our tip of the day for this week is for nervous riders. And this could be for any age, whether it's a 3-year-old, a 13-year-old, or a 93-year-old, to sort of help out riders who are a little bit nervous about getting on a ride. A good piece of advice is to head to the exit. That might sound strange, but if someone's very nervous, heading to the exit and checking out the reactions of people who are coming off the ride can be very helpful. Noticing, are people laughing and smiling, or looking scared and nervous? Especially if it's someone young, maybe talking to other kids as they come off. If you have a family that looks very happy and fun and silly, have your nervous kid interview one of the other kids. How did it feel? What was it like? What were the experiences? Is the ride scary or is it fun? That kind of thing can be reassuring. Sometimes a parent's voice is not one that they're going to value, but hearing it from someone else that it's not scary, that it's fun, is just one of those things that can be helpful to a scared rider.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll even let the younger kids go in the line, and then right when they get to the station, they'll go through the car and go to the exit.
Yeah, so I think that's a really helpful tip for someone who is very nervous about riding a ride. Join us next time as we'll be talking about our trip to Michigan's Adventure, Six Flags Great America, and our first trip of the year to Cedar Point. On our next episode, we'll also go into our first Park of the Month, where we'll really go in depth on lots of tips for families to enjoy their whole day. Follow us on Twitter at Theme Park Fam, as we'll be posting pictures throughout the summer of all of our different experiences. Or you can check us out on Facebook at Theme Park Families. And if you'd like to email us any questions, comments, or MP3s, you can do so at themeparkfamilies@gmail.com.
Trip reports would be nice.
Absolutely, we'd be excited to hear about anything from your family's trips. I think pretty soon what we're going to discuss a little bit later are momentous coasters for people of all ages. Whether it's their first coaster, their first big coaster, an important number like their 100th, 200th, 300th, 800th, wherever you're at. I think that'll be one of our first interactive topics. Tell us about some important number coaster, as I've just gone over 200, which I'll talk about in our next episode. My boys like the Beatles lately, including Twist and Shout.
Summer's here. Get your ride on. See you next